Hello, my lovely audience. So this is going to be a short little special because I've read some of the manga for the next season, and I'm just doing this in preparation for, the next season because he's going to need some firepower, some major firepower. Now, what ends up happening here is this. Where we last left off was Deku is now fighting with barely any types of weapons and is just barely surviving, thinking of putting up the hood. Now, here's the thing. Villains all around, they are tired of this shit. So some of them would get together and would try to attack the Red Hood. They would track him down, go to leads in possible areas, and they find him. They find where he lives. Right before he takes off the hood, he gets a knock on his door. And he says, Red Hood, they say, Red Hood, we know you're in there. And immediately kick down the door. Deku then takes out a sword and tries to defend himself, but immediately gets punched into the wall. Now, I would say that neighbors would call the police at this point, and police would be getting there, but in the meantime, Deku is fighting these funks. These 4 men with close quarters quirks, alright? One can basically make basically other things turn into metal, but I'm not going to get into the specifics of these quirks. One can basically create like a shotgun blast, but needs I would say needs metal in hand to do so. And these guys are basically just shooting up the place, destroying his entire house. Now, the whole place is pretty dull, but has no pictures of him, nothing, not even a laptop or phone. And because that's all, pretty much on him. He only has a phone, and that's on him. And what ends up happening here is this. Deku takes a sword and slashes one of their throats, cutting down one of them. And the other 3 run towards him. One hulking made of rock, and Deku takes his sword and stabs it into the cracks, piercing through him and going through the other side, ripping through him. He then takes his sword and throws it towards the other villain, who then gets shielded by one of them, who uses one of the pans to actually block the sword. And they start running. That's when Deku pulls out a gun, shoots one of them in the back several times. And while getting up, he realizes he's bloody. And mind you, he's still wearing his mask. He's still wearing it. Now, I would say that he put on a better hood, because things have changed a little bit in a few weeks. So he would probably make a new hood. This one would be preventing people from being able to tamper with it and take it off. And what ends up happening here is this. What ends up happening here is, he chases down the last villain, and the cops show up right away. They capture him. They capture our boy Red Hood Deku, and they take him in. Not after, though, he killed another villain. They put him in cuffs, a lot of cuffs, try to take off his hood, but the guy that tries to take it off gets immediately electrocuted. So they don't touch it. They say that he'll take it off when we break him. So what do? The entire time, Deku is in lockup. And I'm going to say that they're trying to figure out who he is from the stuff that he has on him. But all of the stuff that he has is encrypted. The phone is completely encrypted, and it has you have one guess to take a guess at what the password is. And if you fuck up, everything that's on that phone goes away. Completely gone, scratched, erased. No way of getting it back. Because it explodes. And all the data gets deleted. So yeah, try recovering anything from that. Explodes and has acid kind of shoot out on it. So yeah, fun. So what ends up happening here is this. They tell him that he has 2 ways out here. Either he gives himself up or they break him. And he says, try and break me. I'm already broken. What ends up happening here is this. Deku is going to be, I'm going to say that the police station gets hit. Because with the number one hero down, there's a lot more villain attacks. And they think that they could take down the police station. Besides, word got out that the Red Hood is caught, and a lot of villains want payback. So what ends up happening here is this. Deku is left alone in the interrogation room, where he is trying to break out, and he gets out of the cuffs, but now his next is for the door. Now he can't really blow up the door because it would cause a huge loud noise. And that's when an officer walks in, opening the door for him, saying, "I'm on your side. I've seen what you've done. It's more effective than what other heroes have been doing. And if you ask me, you're more capable of handling all these crooked weirdos and crazies than anyone else on the streets, better than any hero I've seen, too. You go for a permanent solution, a body bag. So, my offer is this. You take all the gear that we got and run. Or you stay here and be a good prisoner." And immediately holds out a key to the armory. What ends up happening here is this. This is a major stronghold facility. Every villain that's in hiding, except the LOV, is attacking. And they're trying to kill the Red Hood. Groups of all kinds of sizes, leftovers from the Yakuza, all mobsters, every single type of person is trying to attack this place. And what ends up happening here is this. Deku goes to the lockup, finds a bunch of old gear and puts it on. Swords that belong to Stain, guns that belong to the Yakuza, everything. And he loads it up in several duffel bags. And as he's exiting, there's a horde of villains. So he drops the bags and pulls out the swords. The villains get into an attack stance, and immediately what ends up happening here is this. Deku charges, rushing through, cutting them down one by one, slashing at them, cutting off limbs. By the end of it, he's not only shot a bunch of them up, but he even pulled out a new toy of his, a goddamn minigun, and blows them all away, firing at every single one of them, pulling out a grenade launcher and blowing them up even more. He's completely destroyed the entire place and packs up all of the other stuff and grabs more ammunition and walks out. No cop stops him because he's covered in high-tech body armor, stuff that they didn't even know what it was. Apparently Deku figured it out. And this stuff may be prototype, but Deku's got a way to make this stuff his new armor, his new suit. And what ends up happening here is this. Deku walks out, not a free man, but a wanted man. He not only just committed a massacre inside of a precinct, but also scrubbed footage of surveillance, everything. He's created his own way out, and he is escaping through the sewers. They think that he's going to his old hideout. They're wrong. He's heading back, way back, to a home that he once had, one that was abandoned by his mother. And what ends up happening here is this. Well, it wasn't really abandoned, more like she was dead, so yeah, he basically breaks in and sets up a shop. And immediately waits and hangs out there, remembering all the good memories he had, remembering his mom, taking off his hood and saying he's sorry that he became this way. She probably didn't want him to become this way. And what ends up happening next is he's there for about 2 days and then goes out on the third day carrying bags and bunch of new clothes that were old to him but all still hold sentimental value. And the place would be still managed by the dad, which he wouldn't know that the place is pretty much abandoned, so yes. Now, as for what is going to happen next is this. What is going to happen is Deku is going to be in a new place, a place that he bought out with the money that he's been saving up doing construction jobs. And this is where he hangs up his hood for a bit, waiting for the coming storm. Because he knows there's more villains out there. He's just waiting for them all to group up. Because it makes it easier than hunting them one by one. He's waiting for them all to get grouped up, waiting for the big attack that he knows is coming. Because he heard about how Shigaraki was trying to look for his the core canceling bullets. Mind you, he still had them on him. He retrieved them from the precinct. And you want to know what he did? When he immediately got these core canceling bullets, he immediately starts thinking, what kind of person would make these? A sick one, that's what. And what ends up happening here is this. Deku gets to work on making his new suit, on making his new found joy, something that is going to be armed to the teeth with weaponry, gadgets, a new HUD, and a much more reinforced hood. Because the battery in this thing, if someone even tried to take off his hood again, they would have succeeded. But he didn't tell anyone that. So what ended up happening here is this. He got to work. And what you're only going to see what he made when I watch the new season that comes out next year. So yeah, this was What If Deku Was Red Hood special. A little something I thought you all would like and enjoy. I'll say this is What If Deku Was Red Hood Part 3. Why not? So, what is going to happen next? You'll find out. Now, hope you all have a good night, a good day, good night, whatever. Have a good one.